Hey folks, it's Blue here at Blue Bears Games, and for this week's videos, I will be unboxing and then upgrading the Bloomburrow Family Matters Commander precon. Before I get to today's video, I want to first take a moment to ask for your help in supporting my channel. The easiest and cheapest ways to show your support are by liking my videos, subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet, sharing any of my content on your socials, and or by watching some of my many other videos that I've created over the years. Additionally, you can support the channel by purchasing super thanks, channel memberships, decks that you may have seen on the channel directly from me on the Blue Bears Games Facebook page, and or visiting our sponsor, Arcane Fortress, by using the link that just popped up at the top of your screen and purchasing any of their amazing gaming supplies from them. By using that link specifically, you should receive a 5% discount store-wide. And finally, the last thing you can possibly do to help the channel out is through donations of extra cards that you may have just lying around. Even your bulkiest of bulk will help immensely, so if you'd like to donate to the channel, please message me on the Blue Bears Games Facebook page or email me at bluebearsgames@gmail.com and we can discuss the logistics of how. Anything you can do to help support my small channel is greatly appreciated, and I thank you for it. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. This will be the unboxing of the precon, where I'll show you everything that comes in the box, including the deck in its entirety. And then tomorrow I will release an upgrade guide that should help make the deck either more fun to play a little better, or hopefully both. This deck's color identity is red, white, and blue, also known as Jeskai, and uses Zinnia, Valley's voice, as the commander. According to the front of the box, this deck is supposed to have a token-making go-wide theme, so let's see what Zinnia does to help facilitate this. Zinnia is 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 white mana to cast for a 1/3 legendary bird bard with flying and 2 other abilities. The first of those abilities says that Zinnia gets +X+0, where X is the number of other creatures you control with a base power of 1. The second of those abilities says that creatures that you cast have Offspring 2. Offspring 2 means that you may pay an additional 2 generic mana as you cast a creature spell. If you do, when that creature enters, create a 1/1 token copy of it. Well, as advertised, Zinnia should help facilitate a token-making go-wide theme, assuming the rest of the 99 follow suit. Zinnia looks like it will help provide a good amount of tokens, but I do think it will need a little help from the other cards to really reinforce the go-wide aspect that they are touting. It looks like this may play the way that I like to do combat-based decks, so I'm pretty stoked to see what else they included. I can only assume that there will be a healthy amount of low-cost creatures with some token-creating ETBs and possibly some token-making spells, but this is all speculation. The only way to find out for sure is to just rip this bad boy open and show you what's in the box. So this is what the outside of the box looks like. I don't know if that's a heron or what have you, but it's a bird of some sort on the front. It says Family Matters, make offspring, go wide. Pretty simple, so it's a token deck. On the back of the box, it has a picture of the commander, which is Zinnia. And as I pointed out before, it's a little bit bigger than the previous ones, so you can actually read it a little bit better than the other ones that were this size of a box. So let's open her up and take a look. So, here is the insert that comes with it, with, again, these really crappy punch-outs. And then some counters on the back, some +1/+1 counters. That's possibly a shield counter, a planeswalker symbol, and a flying counter. They're a little thinner than they used to be. We have an insert that has a picture of Zinnia, and then a little bit about her. And then, of course, if you really wanted to, you could fold it in half, turn it into a poster if you'd like. And then on the other side, it's a little bit about playing the deck, and a couple of the commander rules, and of course another picture. It's a slightly different picture of Zinnia. Inside the little pouch, which is not very well put together, unfortunately, we have the box, and we have the life wheel somewhere around here. Haven't found the life wheel yet. Hey, no life wheel. Unless it's in here somewhere, I don't see it. No life wheel this time. Good quality control there, wizards. Not really upset about that, I don't care about that. Alright, so it has the 3 colors of the deck on the front side. It has Zinnia on the back, of course planeswalker symbols on the side, then it says Magic the Gathering on top, and it's a horizontally aligned box, so that's nice. And then we've got these two, since there's no life wheel. I'm still looking, just in case. Nope. Alright, so we have a collector's booster sample pack, and then we have the deck. Let me zoom a little bit. and we'll get started on this. So first, the pack. I haven't really gotten anything very thrilling out of these, except for maybe one time I got an Urza's Land out of it, but that was from, like, Dominaria. Alright, so the first one is an Iridescent Vine Lasher, and this is a extended art. And then we've got a Peerless Recycling Foil. Just a regular old foil, nothing spectacular. I'm sure that's not worth anything. Luckily, we're here for the deck, and not the sample pack. So let me get this open, and then we'll get started on showing you everything else that's inside. Okay, so here is Zinnia. I've already gone over what Zinnia is, but this is what the card actually looks like out of the box. It is a extended art version, and they started doing that recently. The secondary commander is Arthur, Marigold Knight. This is a 5 to cast, 4/5 legendary mouse knight with haste and an ability that says whenever it and at least one other creature attack, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Then return that creature to its owner's hand at the end of combat. So you can cast it again because Zinnia likes it when you cast creature spells. Then we've got a cool, that's actually a nice version there. This is the I guess, Bloomburrow glow up of Elspeth Sun's Champion. That's actually a pretty cool picture. I like it. That is a reprint, but that is a really unique reprint. I like that. That's much better than the Tameo. And then we'll get to the rest of the deck. So we start off with a Jazal Goldmane. That is a reprint. I will try to point out the reprints and read off to you the new cards. I might read a couple that are not new. Marshall Coup, that is a reprint. Storm of Souls. So I don't recognize this. This is a 6 to cast sorcery that says return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Each of them is a 1/1 spirit with flying in addition to its other types, and then you exile Storm of Souls. Selfless Spirit. Jacked Rabbit, that is a great name. This is a 2 and X to cast 1/2 Rabbit Warrior that has this cool ability called Ravenous. And Ravenous says that this creature enters with X +1/+1 counters on it, and if X is 5 or more, you draw a card in addition when it enters. And then it has an ability that says whenever it attacks, create a number of 1/1 white rabbit creature tokens equal to Jacked Rabbit's power. I mean, that makes sense. Rabbits do multiply like the saying goes, bunnies. Murmuration. What a name. So this is a 5 to cast enchantment that says birds you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance. And then at the beginning of your end step, for each spell that you've cast this turn, create a 1/2 blue bird creature token with flying named Stormcrow. So if Stormcrow is one of the most powerful creatures in Magic, this must mean this is the most powerful card in Magic. It's an inside joke, people. Blade Splicer, that is a reprint. Hanged Executioner, a reprint. Little Warhound, different picture, but definitely a reprint. Restoration Angel. Skyclave Apparition. Dusk to Dawn. Boss's Chauffeur. I don't recognize this. This could be something from Streets of New Capenna, but off the top of my head, I don't recognize it, so I will read it. This is a 5 to cast 0/0 Elf Citizen that says it enters with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to 1 plus the number of other creatures that you control. An ability called Alliance that says whenever another creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on Boss's Chauffeur. And then the last ability says when it dies, create a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token for each +1/+1 counter on it. Angel of Ruins, that is a reprint. So is Luminous Broodmoth and Sun Titan. Polywog Prodigy. Don't recognize this one, and it's one of the more expensive cards in the deck, I believe. This is a 2 to cast 1/3 Frog Wizard with Evolve, and an ability that says whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell with a mana value less than Polywog's power, draw a card, which could end up being a lot of drawing. Fortune Teller's Talent. This is a 1 to cast class. I love classes. It says you may look at the top card of your library at any time, which is always nice. Level 2 says as long as you've cast a spell this turn, you may play cards from the top of your library. That's also very nice. And level 3 says spells you've cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 2 less to cast. That's actually a pretty good talent. Aether Channeler. This is a 3 cast 2/1 human wizard. It says when it enters, you choose 1. You can either create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying, return another target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, or draw a card. The cool thing about that is the enter the battlefield triggers from these creatures is great with Zinnia because you're copying them, so you get double the enter the battlefield triggers. Pull from Tomorrow, that is a reprint. Shield Broker, don't recognize this. This is a 5 to cast 3/4 Cephalid Advisor. The ability says whenever it enters, you put a shield counter on target commander that you don't control. You gain control of that creature for as long as it has a shield counter on it. Okay, that's pretty cool, actually. Stolen by the Fae, that's not a really good reprint, but it's a reprint. Bident of Thassa. Curiosity Crafter, these are all reprints. Devilish Valet. Siege Gang Commander. So one of the things I was wondering before opening this was whether or not they were going to have a lot of creatures with ETBs that also create tokens, so that when you offspring them with Zinnia's ability, you're going to get a lot more tokens. So that's pretty cool. I kind of like that they did that. That was the direction I was going to go in for the upgrade guide if it wasn't. Echoing Assault. This is a 5 to cast enchantment that says creature tokens you control have menace. And then it says whenever you attack a player, choose target non-token creature that's attacking that player. Create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1, and the token enters tapped and attacking that player, and sacrifices at the beginning of the next end step. So that's pretty cool. A Gate Instigator. This may be the most valuable card in the deck. It's actually pretty good. I just recommended that to somebody because it's a good card. Calamity of Cinders. This is a 7 to cast sorcery with Convoke, and it says it deals 6 damage to each untapped creature. Obviously, the Convoke is what you're going to use to cast it so that you can save some of your creatures. Rose Room Treasure. This is a 4 to cast 4/3 Ogre Warrior that has an alliance ability, and it says whenever another creature you control enters, create a treasure token if it's the first or second time this ability has resolved this turn. Otherwise, you may pay X, and when you do, the treasure will deal X damage to any target. Combat Celebrant, that is an extra combat reprint. Inferno Titan, Time Wipe, Rapid Augmenter. This is a 3 to cast 1/3 Otter Artificer. It has haste. An ability that says whenever another creature you control with base power of 1 enters, it gains haste until end of turn, and that's important with the base power because if you're buffing things with static buffs, it doesn't affect that its base power was still a 1. And then the last ability says whenever another creature you control enters, if it wasn't cast, you put a +1/+1 counter on Rapid Augmenter, and Rapid Augmenter can't be blocked this turn. Interesting. Sadbot reprint. Whoa, that's a really good reprint. This actually may be the most valuable card in the deck. Monetarily and just it's as far as Commander goes, this is probably the best generic card you can play in a Commander deck. That's a really good one. Really happy to see that. Glacial Fortress, Adakar Wastes, Boo, Temple of Enlightenment, Castle Ardenvale. Why do we have fast lands in the Commander deck? That doesn't make sense to me. But Seachrome Coast, Sulphur Falls, Cascade Bluffs, Exotic Orchard, Clifftop Retreat, Shivan Reef, Temple of Triumph, Boo, Battlefield Forge, Skycloud Expanse. Don't really like the filter lands that much, but I mean, I guess it makes sense in some decks. Back half of the deck, continue on with some of the rare dual lands that were reprints. Temple of Epiphany, Ferris Lake, Rugged Prairie, Sun-Scorched Divide, Spirited Companion, Inspiring Overseer, that's a good reprint. Cut a Deal, Path to Exile, good removal. Illusory Ambusher, Rowdy Research. I actually don't recognize this one. I'm going to read this because it may be a reprint. It's a 7 to cast instant that can cost 1 less to cast for each creature that attacked this turn, and you draw 3 cards. So that's not too bad in this kind of a deck. Plume Creed Escort. Don't recognize. Oh, it's a Bloomburrow card. Okay, so it's not a reprint, but it's definitely a set card. Rapid Hybridization, that is a reprint. It's removal. Junk Winder, Aetherize, Chart a Course, Tetsuko, Umezawa Fugitive, Thopter Engineer. Lots of reprints here. Cloud Blazer, nice little ETB that you can copy if you offspring it. Arcane Signet, naturally. Boros Signet. Ornithopter of Paradise. Thought I would see a couple more things in here that were like mana dorks, but I didn't. Zorius Signet. I don't really like the signets in this deck. Is it Signet? Yeah, that's all the signets. They're all coming out in the upgrade guide. Circuit Mender has an ETB and a LTB, which is a leaves the battlefield trigger, so that's kind of nice. Felwar Stone, Soul Ring, Mind Stone, Terramorphic Expanse, Path of Ancestry, Thriving Heath, which means I'm sure we're going to see the other 2. Evolving Wilds, there's one of them, Thriving Isle, and Thriving Bluff, and good old Command Tower with a nice new picture. Mystic Monastery, the original Tri-Land, and then we're going to probably be just into the basics. So we got plains, islands, and mountains, and then we have the double-sided tokens. So let's look at that. Soldier, Human, Rabbit, Stormcrow! A couple of them. Phyrexian Golem, Spirit, Goblin, Illusion. On the backside, we've got another Goblin, Thopter, Fairy, another Fairy, a Bird, a Frog Lizard, an Agate Instigator, that makes sense, Treasure, Soldier, and Citizen. And that, folks, is what comes in the Bloomburrow Family Matters Commander Precon. So yes, this does have a good bit of go-wide feel to it, but it actually feels like it has a heavy secondary theme of toolbox to me. There weren't as many token-creating creatures or spells as I had figured there would be. Sure, Zinnia basically builds token creation into every creature that you cast, but if it's not on the battlefield, you won't get that many creature tokens. To my point, there are only 12 cards besides the commander that actually create tokens, most of which are one-time triggers. I think maybe 2 of them could do it repeatedly, and in my opinion, that's just a little low. Additionally, the only way to win currently is through combat damage. In this color pairing, there's definitely room for an alternate way of winning. That's the game plan for tomorrow's upgrade guide. Try to make it a little less reliant on the commander, provide another way to win if combat isn't getting the job done, and upgrade some of the lands and ramp cards like I had mentioned in passing when I ran into the 3 filter signets. I think it'll be a good one, so you won't want to miss it. So that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, but if you're looking for more Magic-related content to watch, go browse through my channel and take a look at some of my many other videos. Before you go, though, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. This way, you can be notified when I release new content, which I do every Friday, sometimes on Saturdays, and now occasionally on Mondays. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow.